I think, of course, we all give, irrespective, any financial advisor tells you have an emergency fund in place first. But when you're in your early 20s, mid 20s, you've just been working for a couple of years, that's not your priority number one. But the unfortunate part is that not being your priority at that point in time has consequences much later. It could have consequences at the age of 30, at the age of 32, when you do want to like spend a large amount of money on something and you realize, you know what, I didn't save up these liquid assets of sorts which I could use. And I think an emergency fund is irrespective of age, and especially so for those who are younger, because there are things in your life which are very dynamic, whether it is moving jobs, whether it is like moving cities. And I know a lot of people in their early and mid 20s who are taking breaks, whether it's to travel. And Rashi and I were talking earlier, and she's been in, a part of Madhya Pradesh working for a while now. There are very different choices that, I don't want to say youngsters, but yeah, people in their 20s and early 30s are making nowadays, which really gives you have the comfort of making those choices if you have some funds kept aside. So I don't want to use the word emergency fund. It's not like, hey, we're going to reach the hospital, but just having that contingency fund in place is just that money that gives you the choice to do what you want with it, whether it's going to be necessary for healthcare, whether it's going to be necessary for our parents, or just to move to another city, irrespective. And if you were to calculate it for yourself, it's fairly simple to do. I know we're overwhelmed with, hey, download this app and maintain this Excel sheet and all of that stuff. It's not that hard. Just very simply calculate your fixed costs on a monthly basis. So whether it's your rental, whether it's your utilities, groceries, I don't think you all may have EMIs, but if that's the case, an education loan, etc., add that on. Any other insurance if you're paying, perhaps, just to ensure that, you know what, tomorrow, 3 months, 6 months, I don't want to work, or something causes me to not go to work, I have X amount of money. And it's a very simple calculation. Let's assume all these fixed expenses add up to 40,000 per month. A good place to get started is keeping 3 months worth of your expenses in an emergency fund, or it could be as simple as leaving it in your savings bank account, doing a short-term FD. So start with 3 months worth of your expenses, and if you can, build it up to 6 months worth of your expenses. And I don't like to scare people, but early today we were on another discussion with a corporate, and this lady brought out the fact that she didn't have an emergency fund, and between the current corporate she was with and the last one, she didn't have a health insurance policy, she didn't have an emergency fund, and her parent had to be hospitalized, and she was quite candid to share that fact, and had to end up taking a loan, which is horrible for anyone, and you don't want to go through that. So I think, and your early 20s, mid 20s are the best time to start, because you don't need large amounts to save. You can start with literally like putting aside $1,000 or $2,000 a month, whatever works for you. And it really goes a long way in creating that wealth over time. So I think it is important to look out for a comprehensive insurance plan. I know everyone uses the word comprehensive health insurance, but comprehensive to the extent that it is going to cover you for the kind of hospitalization that you might want in case something happens. The unfortunate part that we may not be aware when it comes to health insurance is there are terms and conditions in terms of even the kind of, the kind of room you choose in the hospital is based on the value of your health insurance policy. And when you're sick or you need to go through a procedure, you don't want to be sharing a room with another person. Like I've experienced that. I don't want to share, like I don't want a twin sharing room when I'm ill, that's the worst thing. And it's important to take health insurance when you're young. I'm not going to say it's just because it's cheap, more so because you're in better health. When you're in your early mid 20s, you're in much better health as opposed to perhaps being in your 30s. And it's not major stuff that affects health insurance policies. It is literally, and we're all prone to lifestyle illnesses these days. And it's unfortunate. It could be high BP, it could be like borderline diabetic, it could just be as simple as thyroid. So say you're 30 years old and you want to take a health insurance policy, and you must declare any medical condition that you have. The moment you say, let's assume you have thyroid, and you say, I have hypothyroid, either that policy will be rejected, or that premium that you would pay on that policy will increase by 30 to 40%. So we always recommend taking insurance when you're younger, because yeah, like I said, not just because it's cheaper, it covers all elements of your health needs. And importantly so, which a large number of us have missed out, and a lot of women I know in our 30s, is adding that maternity benefit to your health insurance policy. So when you add a maternity benefit to your health insurance policy, it could have a waiting period from 9 months to 6 years. So anybody who is in their 20s, perhaps planning, to have a child or wants to have that option towards your late 20s or early 30s, we at the age of 22, you're not going to think about having a child. But unfortunately, when you do and you pull out that health insurance policy, you realize, hey, you know what? I didn't have that maternity benefit. So, and you can't do it because it's quite silly, but some people do think that, you know what? I'm planning to get pregnant next year. Let me take a health insurance policy now. And those insurance companies are not foolish. There is a reason they ask you to take these policies much earlier, and they have waiting periods, etc. So take it when you're younger and add that maternity benefit if you can. In case you're working with a corporate, you definitely will have a health insurance, and corporate policies are actually more comprehensive. They don't exclude stuff like abortions if things were to happen, like, yeah, those situations. In case you're working with a corporate, you must use those policies if something comes up. But irrespective, you need a health insurance policy. Take it in your early mid 20s. Don't wait for like 31, 32, and yeah, when you're trying to figure out life, and take it at that point in time. And it's very cheap. In your 20s, a 5 lakh cover policy would cost you like 5,000 bucks a year, which in my opinion is very reasonable. It's 500 rupees a month, less than that even. Okay, so I think I say this all the time. Don't mix up insurance and investment. I guess you're talking about a health insurance mutual fund. There are things offered like this. I would say don't mix up insurance and investment. Insurance is just meant to sort of financially protect you if something were to happen, a hospitalization, etc. And investments are something that are meant to create wealth over time. Don't mix these two. Just have like adequate health insurance and keep your investments separate so that you're doing justice to both these elements. It's unfortunate that we're being peddled these products, and I hate to use the word peddle, but that's literally what it is. And it's always recommended to keep these two things separate. In case you do have financial dependence either right now, or you potentially have financial dependence in the future, it is a great idea to take a life insurance policy in your early or mid 20s. As in the case of health insurance, it is much cheaper. So a 1 crore cover, a 1 crore life cover for a 25-year-old woman would come up to about 600 rupees a month. That's as low as the premium cost. And like I was saying earlier, don't mix the two elements of investments and insurance, because that's what a lot of us do. We take an LIC and think, you know what, hey, I have X amount of insurance, and if I survive this period, there's some money that will come at maturity. That's a terrible idea. The purpose of a life insurance is just so that your dependents are secure financially in case something happens to you. So a very simple thing, simple math that you can do is whatever you're earning right now, let's assume your income is 5 lakhs a year, take a term, so it's called term insurance, take a term insurance cover up to 10 times of your income. I mean, it could be 6 times of your income, but up to 10 times of your annual income is ideal. So have at least a 50 lakh cover, and it's really, really cheap in your early and mid 20s. And that premium stays on forever. So I took my first life insurance when I was 26. I took a 80 lakh policy. I'm paying 5,100 rupees a year towards it, and I will pay that till the age of 65. And I think that's very economical to have this kind of financial protection for my family.